What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Snack Time. My name is Ben, and in today's video, we are going to be taking a look at a cool little project called Open Archiver. And what it does is it is an email archiving open source project that can ingest email from IMAP accounts. It can do M365, Google Workspace, and even PSTs. Very cool. In this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you around a little bit, and then I'm going to show you how to set it up on your own server. And we are going to connect it to an M365 tenant and see if we can basically archive all of the emails throughout the entire tenant so that we have access to everyone's email. Doesn't sound creepy at all, does it? So let's go ahead and jump in and let me show you the GitHub. So it does have a cool little GUI to go along with it, make it easier for you to see what you have backed up, your space that you're using, and everything else too. I say backed up, I mean archive backup. It's kind of the same thing, right? But this will make it a lot easier for you to look at those emails should you so choose. So this isn't exactly something that you'll just give to access to pretty much anybody unless you really trust them. So this can do a bunch of different sources like I was talking about, IMAP, all this PST, and even zipped EML files. So that's very cool. We can store the email either on our own server, or we can also ship it off to S3 buckets on AWS. So very nifty there as well. Rest of this is just how we're going to set it up. This does have a lot of environment variables that we can specify that we'll cover in a little bit. Let me just show you what it looks like though. If you want to explore it yourself, they do have a demo site set up, so you can hit up this URL right here and just punch in those credentials. That's what we're going to do, and then we're also going to build it. So going in here, we have dark mode, light mode with system, so we can specify a couple of options there. We also have some stats on our dashboard as far as how many emails we've backed up from the different accounts, and we can go in and adjust our ingesters. This one is set up for just a generic looks like Gmail using IMAP. So if you have a Gmail account that you want to back up all your email off of, you can set up IMAP access and configure it and let it do its thing. It looks like we can force a sync. We also have some edit options which are blocked out because it's a demo. We'll explore those a little bit later when we're configuring our own. And we also have our archived email. So we can go down here and we can specify which source we're working with, which is only the IMAP right now. And then we can just search through any of this email. It's all clickable. So if you click on it, we'll be able to see the email as in a preview. We can also download it from into a .eml file. That's kind of cool. And we have a nifty little search. So let's try it out. I'm just going to do this and do a search for how to. And we'll do a search. And there we go. One of the first things that comes up was that email we were just looking at, as well as a bunch of, it looks like it does in the actual body of the email itself, which we can click on. That's very cool. So not too much to go through there. So that's okay because it has one purpose and it seems to serve it pretty well. Let's do the interesting thing, which is installing this on our own virtual private server. I'll be using my RackNerd server. Feel free to use whatever you would like to, or if you need help setting up your own RackNerd server, I do have a video that walks you through that. And it's basically VPS on a budget, and I will help you get yours spun up very quickly. And beyond that, let's also go ahead. We're going to connect it to M365. So we'll go through those and all those steps of configuring our own enterprise application and giving it all the settings. And then we're going to turn it loose and see what happens. So let's go ahead and jump over to the installation part of this video. I'll see you there in just a second. For this, we are going to need Docker, Portainer, and Nginx Proxy Manager should you so choose to have this be internet facing. It's not a requirement, and I will tell you where we will make that decision. And if you decide to go this way, that's totally cool. The rest of us will be making it internet facing, but I'll show you where to stop if you decide not to. Let's find our Docker compose file here. This is the file that we're going to be taking and copying and bringing over to our Portainer. We're going to copy that and let's go over to Portainer. And if we're under stacks right here, let's go to a new stack and we'll just call this Open Archive. And let's go ahead and paste this in here. Before we start kind of picking this apart, let's also grab our .env file. We're going to need that too. So go back and then scroll to the top. You see you have a .env example file. This is what we're going to use. We're going to copy this. Just keep in mind there are a bunch of comments here that can answer some questions you may have. But when we paste this into Portainer, all of these comments are going to disappear. So going back to Portainer, scrolling down, let's click advanced mode and let's drop that file in there. And you see all the comments disappeared. Let's see here. So we have a bunch of options that we are going to cover and some that we're going to remove and some that we're going to change because we are using Portainer. Let's go ahead and start at the very beginning. Zooming in right here, we have our version. We have the image that we're going to be pulling. I don't need to build this, so that's great. And we have our restart policy. This restart policy is set for unless stopped, which means if your server were to reboot, this will come up automatically unless you stopped it beforehand. We have some ports that are going to be open. We have front end and back end ports. That's fine. Probably don't know if we're going to need those or not. I'm going to most likely comment them out because I don't want this to be basically keeping and putting anything on the internet for anybody to access. We'll see if it's a necessity later on if I see it. So next thing up is the environment file. It's saying that look for the environment variables in this .env file, which is typical if you were building this with the command line. But since we are doing this with Portainer, what you're going to end up doing is you see you're going to change the .env to stack.env, and that allows it to find that file, but just not the same exact one because we're putting all our environment variables into the program and not into a specific file. Volumes, we have archive-data. That is a mapped volume. That's totally fine. I'm okay with that. And the depends on, it's going to depend on our Postgres server running our val key and our mili search. So however you say that, milali. Okay. It has been well established that I cannot pronounce words very well, so we're just gonna have to deal with that. The network that we are going to be building is the open-archiver.net. That's fine. And moving on to our next container, we are going to be building a Postgres server. We're going to be establishing our credentials here, which are going to be pulling from that environment variable file that we're going to build. We're going to put in here, and we've already pasted in. So whenever you see these $sign and the little squiggly marks and the uppercase, it just means that we're going to be pulling that data from this file right there, and we do not want to drag and drop that. Alternatively, if it can't find those files, it's going to use the defaults right here. So we are going to not let it do that. Volume, same thing. We're creating a mapped volume to go to PG data and going to this folder. That's cool. Ports, I'm also going to go ahead and comment out. So one thing to note, I did tell you that I was going to let you know when we got to that point. If you are self-hosting this locally and not putting this internet facing, do not comment out any of these ports. Sorry about that, but just wanted to bring that up. Leave them all uncommented out, but since our server is internet facing, we don't necessarily want those ports to be out there all willy-nilly and not running through some sort of like the internet, like Nginx Proxy Manager, for example. I want something to examine that traffic and make sure it's at least somewhat safe and somewhat protected. But so yeah, that's all you're going to do there. Same thing with the network. We're just going to join the same exact network as all the other containers, which is pretty much typical. Our Valkey server, this is going to be doing a little bit of caching, I believe, for us, and message storage, I believe, as well. I think that's kind of what I read that Valkey does. If you know something I don't, please obviously put it in the comments down below, but I'm pretty sure that's where it stores most of its data, at least the sensitive stuff. Next up, we have some commands it's going to run when this container starts. That's cool, specifying the Redis password, which I assume we have probably defined somewhere around here. I think it's probably going to be in the environment variables as well. So I think that's why, that's what I read. It kind of does some caching too. More ports to comment out. Do not leave them open. More volumes being established and for the data, so it's persistent, and more network joining. Next up is our search container. This is going to basically allow us to search through all these emails and do it at a pretty quick pace. This does need a master key specified. If not, we're going to go with a sample master key, probably not so much secure, and that's okay. We're going to be covering the environment variables soon. More ports need to be commented. And if we run into some issues, we are going to run into them together because this will be the first time I've kind of pushed this out in a really kind of a production kind of environment, or at least one that is going to actually be ingesting some emails. So that'll be really cool. So if I run into it, then you will. And if I don't, then you shouldn't. All right. So we have, if we scroll down a little bit here, we have our environment variable. I'm going to zoom out and then zoom in a little bit so we kind of have them up here. Okay. So our node environment is set for development. I don't know that it matters, but let's set this to the production just to see what happens. Our port front end, 4000, 3000. We didn't change any of those. That's fine. Our Postgres database name is going to be Open Archive. That's cool. Postgres username password is admin and password. That's fine, but I would encourage you to change it, or at least make it super secure by adding 123 at the end of it. It makes it super secure. Next up, we're not going to really mess with the database URL. We're going to leave that alone. That is fine. Our Mealy master key. Let's make this something a little bit more secure. You'll probably want to make this something generic like ASDF, ASDF, ASDF 1234. That's super secure, right? Redis password, same thing. You can change this if you want to. I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave it as it is. And I want to actually, let's do this. I want to jump back here and I want to go to this. So if you are on this file, if you're using this as a reference, obviously make a note of the comments here. Like Redis, we use Valkey, which is a Redis compatible and open source. So yeah, kind of right there, it does a little bit of caching for us. So that's pretty cool. But basically, if you do have questions, things that I maybe didn't do a good enough job explaining, check back here and read some of the comments. All right, let's go back to ours because I think we're doing okay so far. I do believe. All right, so moving on. Let's see, we got some more Redis settings here. That's fine. Our storage type is going to be local. Cool. We are going to be having a storage local root as var data open archive. And if we look at the top here, let's see, we said it was going to be var data open. So yeah, here we go. Looks like our email is going to be stored on this volume. You see that path matches up to that one. So our archive or dash data looks like it's going to be storing that. I would assume it's probably using the Postgres data to store information like statistics and things that that you may need, not necessarily emails themselves, but information about them. We're not going to be using any sort of S3 buckets, so we can just pretty much remove all that. And next up, we have our JWT secret. I would encourage you to find a 32-bit character generator or use like a password generator or something to generate something that is secure. You know, obviously, you don't want this to be something obvious, so ta-da! JWT expires 7 days. That's fine. A super API encrypt and an encryption key. So if we zoom down here, set credentials for the initial admin user. So that's probably important. We'll have to set up ourselves a password. Master encryption key for sensitive data such as ingestion source credentials. Generate a secure random 32-byte hex string for this. You can use this Linux command to generate that, but let's assume that you're not super awesome with the terminal and we need to do this online. Let's copy this and zoom out, and let's just do a quick Google search for this. So the very first website we find, browser link. Let's go ahead and generate a hex. And this generated 5. I only want 1. There we go. And let's take that over to our Portainer. And it does need our API key. So I'm just going to make that password 123. Again, super secure and no one will ever guess it. We are protected. I think we should be good to go. Let's give this a whirl. I think I got everything. I don't believe that I missed anything. That's cool. You can also change the sync frequency if you want to. We're not going to, but you can. Okay, so we have successfully deployed our stack. Let's make sure everything is working. And open archive. Yay, it's all green. I love it when it's all green. Okay, so I'm moving on. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and join our Nginx Proxy Manager to this network so that we can access this. And let's go to our containers and our Nginx app. And as per usual, I'm going to move my head out of the way so that you can see what I'm going to do. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom and let's go to connected networks and let's find our open archive and join. Okay, so if we go all the way to the bottom, we should see that we are joined and we have picked up an IP address. Perfection. All right, next up, we do need to create ourselves a subdomain so that we can access this from outside. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and create a new record. We're going to call this an A record. And we're just going to do this archiver.synhow.com. And we're going to copy the external IP address of our server and then save all these changes. All right, so remember we're creating an A record. You can do this through Namecheap like I'm doing here, or you can do it through whatever DNS server that you're working with. The terminology should be pretty much the same, except the location of the setting may be a little different, especially if you're using like GoDaddy or Network Solutions or something. So something to keep in mind. All right, moving on. We have our domain set up, which is going to be archiver.synhow.com. Remember, that's what A records do. Let's go over to Nginx Proxy Manager. Go to our proxy hosts and add a new one called archiver.synhow.com. It's asking, where do we want to forward all this lovely traffic going to archiver.synhow.com? So let's do this. We're going to not specify the IP address because that may change, but we are going to specify the host name. So we go back to Portainer. Let's find our host name, which is going to be most likely this open archiver container right here, because that's our database and that's our cache and that's our search. So logically it makes sense. Let's go back here and paste this here. Now, if we take a very close look, it's asking us for our forward port. And what that is asking us is for the traffic. What port is the, it's a container expecting to see traffic coming to. And we don't really know that unless you remember it from the container file. I don't. Let's go back here to our GitHub page. We could also pull it from Portainer under our stack. Let's just look at our Docker Compose file. All right, so it looks like we have right here, if you look closely, we have our backend, which is using port 4000, and the front end is using 3000. So this 3000 is the port that it would have been listening to or exposing to the network. and it's just going to be forwarding it to the same port number, which is 3000. That's not always the case, but sometimes it is. But that's the number we need, is the one on the right. Long story short. All right, let's drop that in here. And we're going to do black common exploits and enable WebSocket support just in case, and hit save. All right, so now that we have our proxy hosts configured, we do want to encrypt the traffic. Right now it's just HTTP only. That's no bueno. And let's go ahead and edit. Let's go to SSL. And let's go drop this down and hit request a new one, force it, and agree to the terms of service, and hit save. If we did everything correctly, this window should vanish and go away. If we did not, and we get an error message, it usually means that we have some sort of maybe like misspelling in our subdomain, maybe a space here or there that shouldn't be, or possibly we did this step before creating the subdomain, and so it hasn't had time to propagate. Luckily for us, we're good to go. Okay, I think we are ready to give it a shot. Let's go ahead and click on our URL here. And we are presented with our very first user account creation. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and type in SYNACK time. And Ben at synacktime.com. And we'll give ourselves a good password. And here we go. We have our environment all configured and ready to go. Okay, so once you have signed in, you're basically the admin of this instance that you have created. There's not a lot of options for that role currently, but he does have a lot of things on the roadmap. So by the time you watch this video, this interface could look something very different. You might even have an admin control panel where you can add multiple users. But as it stands now, this is what we have, and I think it's still pretty good. And I'm going to go ahead and let's proceed to connecting this to our Microsoft 365 tenant and see if we can start pulling in emails from that tenant. So I'm going to move myself to the bottom a little bit. Now let's do this. Let's head back over to the GitHub and let's go back to the main page and scroll all the way to the bottom. And that will give us our instructions on how to connect it to either a Google Workspace, a Microsoft 365, or just a generic IMAP account, whichever one you want to do. I'm going to do 365 because that one looks the coolest and I think it'd be really helpful. We're going to follow the instructions, not for IMAP, but for 365, which is over here. All right, so connecting to 365 account. I'm going to scroll in just a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead and go through this and do this at the same time. So this will be really fun for all involved. All right, so we are going to probably need at least, I would say probably a global admin to create this application, unless you're just doing it just for yourself. But we can, I believe is what is intended is for you to be able to set this up and to read all the email across your entire tenant instead of just an individual account. All right, so let's go ahead and sign in. I do happen to have a tenant that I can use for this very thing. So let's do this. All right, so we're going to go to the Entra admin and go to identity applications and app registration. All right, so we're going to go over to our Entra and we're going to go to app registrations. I'm already under identity. All right, and let's see here. We'll go under applications and let's just highlight this as we go. Applications and app registration. Which are we under there? Cool, we are. And I think we're gonna do a new registration. And all right, so on the register, we're going to give it a name like Open Archiver Service. You can call this whatever you want. This is totally your call. All right, so I'm gonna go back here and I believe, let's see here. So we're going to be accounts in this organization's directory only, single tenant. Here we go, the very first thing, and it's already checked. Awesome. All right, and for the redirect optional, you can leave this blank. Perfect. Let's go ahead and register our application. All right, we have successfully registered it. Now we're going to be giving it some permissions, and I assume gathering some information about our specific tenant here. I'm going to go ahead and fire up a notepad. I'm sure we are going to probably need it. All right, I'm going to just have this in the background because we're probably going to need to record some information. All right, from our new applications, we do need to give it some permissions, API and add permission. All right, so let's go to our API and let's go to add permission. And let's see, we have, and go to request API and select Microsoft Graph and then applications. So Microsoft Graph and applications. And now we need to select our permissions. We're going to need mail.read and user read all. So we can do a search here. All right, and we're going to select our mail.read and user.read all. All right, so those two right there. All right, and we're going to hit add permission. All right, and so if you look down here, we should see we have mail.read and user.read all. So far, so good. All right, so the final step of this process is for us to grant admin consent for our organization. So if we go back to our Entra here, and let's go ahead and click this button right here. We're going to grant and then hit yes. Let's see, the statuses should all be green, which means it will have the permission to access our entire tenant. Hopefully that doesn't make you nervous. Right, so now we need to create a secret key that we can use to let it have access. All right, so we need to go to certificates and secrets right here. And we're going to click on a new secret, a new client secret. And we're going to give it a description, open archive. You can call this again, whatever you want. And let's zoom in. We're going to drop this down. You can specify however long you want this API key to live for. If you want to evaluate it every 6 months, that's up to you. Then you have your 12 and your 18. Let's go 12 months. Again, totally up to you. And at the very bottom, we're going to hit add. Now it's very important for you to record the value right here because it's not going to show you this when you navigate away from the screen. And let's go ahead. We're going to copy that and we're going to paste it into our notepad here. We're just going to call this our value. Paste that. Make sure that's the same. It is. All right, and let's check back. All right, so we have hit new secret, description. Yep, got that covered. Add, immediately copy the secret. The secret is now visible in the value column, not the secret column. This is one time, yep, just saying record it or you will lose it. All right, now we need to put some of this information into our open archive. We're going to need the application or client ID, and we're also going to need the tenant ID. I want to show you where to get both of those too. All right, let's go back to at the top here to overview. And here at the very top, we have our client ID, which we're going to need. I'm just going to call this client. And also our tenant ID. And that is right here. Copy that and paste it here. So now we have the three things that we need in order to give open archive access to our tenant. All right, let's check and make sure we have everything. First off, we need to create that, blah, 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 blah. We need to give it our application, tenant, and secret. Awesome, we got all those. Go to our open archive program and let's create a new. And for our name, we're going to call this, I'm just going to call this SYNACK time. are going to, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. We're going to use the open or the Microsoft 365, but you have a couple of options if you are using the different ones. And there are 3 values that we need, and it's even saying the value, not the secret ID. Yeah, a lot of people, it's really confusing, and it confuses a lot of people, so that's fine. All right, so we're going to copy this guy. And apparently not click away, because that sucked. So be very careful when you're clicking. Don't click outside the box or bad times. All right, I'm going to copy my client without spaces. And then we're going to copy my tenant. No spaces again. All right, so let's take a peek here. Please note this is organization-wide operation. This kind of ingestion will port all and index all. If you only want to do one specific email address, use IMAP. Fine. Let's hit submit. Here we go. Audit success. Last message is empty. Let's force a sync and see what happens. So hopefully this is going to work. I think it will. Let's keep our fingers crossed. No email so far. All right, so I'm going to let this run, and we're going to check back here in like a couple of minutes and see. Hopefully we'll have some cool things to look at. Again, this is just a test tenant, so there might not be a ton of things, but if it works for me, it should work for you. All right, I will see you back here in a little bit.
1 pair of pants later.
Welcome back. This is Ben from the future, and I just wanted to let you know to invest in corn. Yes, this is the future Ben talking about. Okay. So anyway, I wanted to let you know that we are done with our ingestion. It took just a little bit of time to do that, mostly because there was a little bug, but the developer fixed it super fast. I mean, like within hours, and now it is working great. So no settings really changed. I added the same one back in there and just hit start sync. So let me show you that real quick. So if we go under ingestions, it's syncing now, which means it's going to keep running. It will show you a little bit if it has any, if it has any sort of error messages, it'll show them here. Not super easy to read, but I'm sure they're going to fix that in the future. And most of these error messages really relate to the inability for it to ingest email from like guest accounts and accounts that don't have like email associated with them. I know there's a feature request to exclude accounts. I think that'd be cool. But like I said, this is a very new project, and there's a lot of improvements being made. So very, very cool. If you do want to force one, you can always click on these little periods and hit force sync, and it will go and do that. I think I probably showed you that in the last video. But let's jump back over to the dashboard. Here are the number of emails that I have archived. Here is the storage that I am using, the top 10 senders. So that's email that we're receiving. And it looks like here is just the storage by ingestion source. So if you do have multiple sources, you'll be able to see a little pie chart of the storage being used per source. We just have one, so it's a big orange pie chart. Let's go over to archived emails. Here's a list of all the emails that I have. Let me see if I can zoom in just a hair to show you. So here we go. We have the folder that it's being stored in, as well as the actions to view, who the sender was, who the recipient was, and subject and date. If we do decide to view, it just opens up a really quick little preview window, and we can download it or delete it from our systems. And as search, I showed you, I believe, earlier. Very, very cool thing. Let's see here. If we just do a search for random industries, we go over here to search and paste it here, and we can hit a search, and it will search for anything as far as subjects or bodies of the email, anything that comes up with random industries. So very, very cool. Extra points if you can tell me what that in that company name is from. So, all right. That pretty much sums up the configuration of this platform, as well as the connecting it to M365. So I'm very interested to see what you guys think. All right, well, let's go ahead and wrap this video up. I do appreciate you guys spending some time with me today, and I hope you found this useful. If you did, please consider subscribing or maybe giving me a thumbs up. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. You guys take care. Bye-bye.